At approximately 10 p.m. on July 3, 2012, in the small guest house known as Chenglong, situated in Shantou City, Guangdong Province, China, the innkeeper was performing her final cleaning of the day. As she cleaned the staircase on the third floor, she noticed several small drops of blood on the steps. The drops were slightly larger than a pea and bright red, appearing fresh. She recalled seeing a male guest descend the stairs with a suitcase. Could the blood be connected to him? Dismissing the thought, she continued to the third floor to clean the vacant rooms. Approaching the bathroom, her curiosity piqued by the black travel bag. She opened it, only to be met with a horrifying sight that would haunt her forever. Upon entering room 306, the innkeeper noted that the bed was neatly made and the floor had been thoroughly cleaned. Yet, one unusual detail caught her eye. A partially opened black travel bag nestled in the corner of the bathroom. In shock, she fled the room and immediately called the police. Approximately 30 minutes later, a team of detectives from the Shantou City Police arrived at the scene. Their initial investigation revealed the contents of the travel bag, the severed head of a woman. Forensic examiners, analyzing the facial features, determined that the victim was likely a woman aged between 30 and 35, with long hair and a slender build. However, the exact height and weight remained undetermined. The evidence of a fractured hyoid bone, alongside the discovery of a red cord near the victim's head, suggested she had been strangled before being dismembered. A more detailed examination uncovered traces of blood in the bathroom corners and grout lines, confirming that all the blood belonged to the victim. Room 306 was clearly the primary crime scene, yet the perpetrator had meticulously cleaned the area, leaving minimal traces. The only identifiable evidence was a partial fingerprint found on the mattress, but the ridges were not well defined enough for identification. Investigators also uncovered a small pink bag in the room containing women's cosmetics, a pair of scissors, a package of candied dates, a bottle of nutritional drink, and a phone charger. Despite the variety of items, none provided a significant lead. Based on the forensic evidence, police started to build an initial profile of the suspect, an adult male with strong investigative resistance, steady nerves, and likely a prior criminal record. The expertise displayed in the dismemberment suggested he might be a skilled butcher or a medical professional accustomed to dissection. If neither of these professions applied, it was highly probable that this was not his first time committing such an act. Given the gravity of the crime, police launched a citywide investigation overnight, mobilizing both city and district law enforcement teams. Their first priority was identifying the victim. To establish investigative leads, however, the guest house was located in a densely populated, chaotic neighborhood, operating without proper business registration. As a result, the reception desk did not require guests to provide personal identification when checking in. The only detail known was that room 306 had been rented by a middle-aged man wearing a white shirt. To find a breakthrough, investigators turned to reviewing surveillance cameras around the area, hoping to identify both the perpetrator and the victim. However, for reasons unknown, the surveillance cameras at the guest house malfunctioned on the day of the crime, capturing only a few short clips. Fortunately, among the remaining footage, investigators spotted the man who had rented room 306. According to the recordings, at approximately 5:13 p.m. on the day of the crime, a middle-aged man wearing a white dress shirt was seen casually walking down the third-floor hallway with a black travel bag. The innkeeper reported that the man had checked into room 306 around 3 p.m. that same day. To establish investigative leads, authorities faced a significant challenge. The guest house was located in a densely populated, chaotic neighborhood, operating without proper business registration. As a result, the reception desk did not require guests to provide personal identification during check-in. The only detail known was that room 306 had been rented by a middle-aged man in a white shirt. To find a breakthrough, investigators turned to reviewing surveillance footage from the area, hoping to identify both the perpetrator and the victim. However, in an unfortunate turn of events, the surveillance cameras at the guest house malfunctioned on the day of the crime, capturing only a few fleeting clips. Fortunately, among the limited footage, investigators spotted the man who had rented room 306. The recordings revealed that at approximately 5:13 p.m. on the day of the crime, a middle-aged man in a white dress shirt was seen walking casually down the third-floor hallway carrying a black travel bag. The innkeeper confirmed that the man had checked into room 306 around 3 p.m. that same day. In an unsettling turn of events, the innkeeper was unable to recall how or when the victim had entered the room. The surveillance cameras revealed no suspicious activity. A thorough examination of the crime scene uncovered the horrifying fact that the victim's torso and limbs were missing. Compounding the mystery, a male guest from room 306 had hastily departed, dragging a suitcase behind him. Bloodstains discovered on the staircase prompted investigators to suspect that this man was not just a guest, but the very murderer who had dismembered the victim. Described by the innkeeper, the suspect appeared to be around 30 years old, standing approximately 5 feet 7 inches tall, with an average build and sparse hair that featured a noticeably receding hairline. As he left the guest house, witnesses noted he rode away on a red motorcycle, suggesting he likely resided nearby. In response, the police began combing through surveillance footage from intersections in the vicinity, desperate to trace the suspect's whereabouts. Yet, the neighborhood's complexity and the poor resolution of the cameras thwarted their efforts, making it nearly impossible to identify the suspect with any certainty. Faced with these mounting challenges, the investigative team pivoted their focus to retracing the victim's steps, leading up to her arrival at the guest house. Unfortunately, the cameras at the guest house had failed to capture clear images of the victim, complicating the review of additional footage. At this critical juncture, a guest in the adjacent room recalled hearing a woman scream from room 306 around 4:30 p.m. on the day of the murder. This time marker became pivotal in piecing together the timeline of events. The investigation took a significant turn when, upon reviewing the surveillance footage, detectives spotted a man in a white shirt alone at an intersection near the guest house at 3:51 p.m. on the day in question. Tracking his movements closely, investigators noted that he lingered near a marketplace, seemingly awaiting the arrival of someone. About 5 minutes later, a woman clad in a red shirt came into view. Although the image quality was far from ideal, the police were able to identify her as the victim based on her distinctive facial features and hairstyle. Observing the interactions between the two, investigators inferred a level of familiarity between them. However, the surveillance footage from the guest house failed to capture any images of the woman in the red shirt accompanying the suspect into room 306. A timeline analysis indicated that they likely entered the room around 4 p.m. This shocking revelation meant that the woman had been murdered in less than 30 minutes, suggesting the suspect's actions were premeditated. At 5:13 p.m., the suspect was first seen leaving room 306. By 8:49 p.m., he returned to the guest house riding a motorcycle, this time with a black suitcase in tow. Despite the clarity of the surveillance footage showing both the suspect and the victim, the police found themselves at a standstill, unable to identify either individual. Analyzing the evidence, the investigation team decided to divide their efforts. One group continued to scrutinize surveillance footage in the area, attempting to locate the suspect's residence, while the other team distributed alerts to nearby districts and began investigating open missing persons cases. The following day brought an unexpected development, as the police in Jiang City reported a strikingly similar case from over 6 months prior in Rongcheng District. A woman's headless body had been discovered in the river. The remains had been found beneath Yongdong Bridge on December 4, 2011. Forensic analysis identified the victim as a young woman aged between 20 and 25, standing approximately 5 feet 3 inches tall. Despite exhaustive investigations, the victim's identity remained a mystery, and no trace of the perpetrator was ever uncovered. However, the methods used in this Jiang case bore a striking resemblance to those in the murder at the Chenglong guest house, leading investigators to suspect a possible connection. Unfortunately, the Jiang case yielded few actionable leads, compelling investigators to persist with their independent inquiries into the chilling series of events. The investigation into the Jiang case revealed a disturbing possibility. The same individual might be responsible for both crimes. Unfortunately, the case provided few actionable leads, compelling investigators to pursue their efforts independently. After meticulously reviewing extensive surveillance footage, investigators uncovered that the woman in the red shirt had arrived near the guest house on a motorcycle. However, the positioning of the bike rendered any clear identification impossible. Aiming to identify the motorcycle's license plate, make, and model, investigators faced a nearly insurmountable challenge. They decided it was time to backtrack. They traced her likely route from the guest house, along Changjiang Road, toward the market and the nearby town. At the intersection of Jinhu and Puti roads, the woman on the motorcycle vanished from the camera's view. This disappearance suggested that her residence or a potential stopping point might lie near this intersection. Despite 3 days of relentless investigation, police found no suspicious leads concerning the woman in the red shirt. A search through the missing persons database in Shantou City yielded no matches for her description, leaving the case in a precarious standstill. During the crime scene examination of room 306, a seemingly insignificant piece of evidence emerged. Technicians discovered an open package of candy dates. While an ordinary snack, the packaging bore a price stamp from the Jiangshan City Price Inspection Bureau. This stamp indicated that the package had been certified by the local price authority. In Jiangshan, this suggested that the candy dates likely originated there, hinting that the woman in the red shirt may have purchased them locally. With this clue, police formulated a bold hypothesis. They speculated that the victim might have traveled from Zhongshan, located approximately 280 miles away. If this were true, her most likely mode of transportation would have been a long-distance bus. Redirecting their focus, police turned their investigation toward the bus terminals in the city. A major breakthrough occurred when investigators discovered footage of the woman in the red shirt arriving at Nanshang bus station on a motorcycle. At precisely 3:27 p.m. on the day of the murder, police reviewed all bus arrivals at Nanjing that had occurred prior to that time. They identified a bus from Juha that passed through Zhongshan and arrived at Nanjing around 3 p.m. The bus driver, contacted by investigators, vividly recalled the woman. She was the sole passenger boarding from Zhongshan. With this confirmation that the victim had come from Zhongshan, police reached out to local authorities. The local authorities quickly matched her description to a missing person report. However, identifying the woman as the victim complicated the case further, necessitating assistance from the Jiangshan police. Investigators then contacted the victim's husband, Li Guohua. According to him, his wife, Jiang Jingfen, was 30 years old and originally from Shanxi province. She worked at a foot massage parlor in Zhongshan. Jingfen occasionally took night shifts, often staying out for a few days, which Li Guohua considered normal. On the morning of July 3, 2012, Jingfen left home, informing her husband she was heading to a night shift. For the first 2 days, Li Guohua remained unconcerned about her absence. However, on the morning of July 5th, he began calling her repeatedly, growing increasingly worried about her well-being. His concern deepened when her phone was found to be turned off. The owner of the massage parlor also confirmed that Jingfen had not returned to work. Sensing something was amiss, Li reported her missing to the police. When shown the surveillance footage, Li identified the murdered woman in room 306 as his wife, Jiang Jingfen. Yet, the mystery remained. Why had Jingfen lied to her husband? She had secretly traveled 280 miles to Shantou to meet a stranger at a guest house. Li Guohua insisted that both he and his wife were migrants who had moved to Zhangzhou for work years earlier. He adamantly claimed that Jingfen had no male friends or connections in Shantou, a city so distant. Neither he nor any relatives recognized the middle-aged man captured in the surveillance footage. An investigation into Jiang Jingfen's phone records uncovered a troubling pattern. Just before her tragic murder, she had made a series of calls to a Shantou-based number ending in 0657. Notably, at precisely 3:56 p.m. on July 3rd, after Jingsun had arrived at Nanjing bus station, she placed this call. It would be her final communication before her life was brutally taken. The police quickly zeroed in on the owner of the 0657 number, suspecting him to be the perpetrator. However, their attempts to retrieve the subscriber's information from telecom providers met with failure. An analysis of the phone's geolocation revealed an intriguing detail. While the number was registered in Shantou, its primary usage was traced back to Jiang, a nearby city. With this new lead, the investigation shifted its focus to Jiang, where police enlisted the help of local authorities to pursue their inquiries. A public notice was issued, appealing for information about the suspect and offering a monetary reward. By the afternoon of July 7th, a crucial tip materialized. A villager reported seeing a middle-aged man who matched the suspect's description in a large village on the outskirts of Jiang. Initial inquiries revealed that the village was home to over 3,000 residents. Among them were many migrants, renting accommodations. When police arrived in the village in the early hours of July 8th, local cooperation proved invaluable, allowing them to identify the suspect through household registration records. The suspect was ultimately identified as Zheng Xiangfu, a 42-year-old man originally from Jianhe County in Guizhou Province. His history revealed a past marked by crime, having been sentenced to 2 years in prison for theft before his release on November 25, 2000. In 2004, he and his wife, Chen Baojian, moved to Shantou, seeking a fresh start. While Xiangfu once worked in a printing factory, he had become unemployed for 2 years, eking out a living as a motorcycle taxi driver. Although his official portrait reflected a younger man, it bore little resemblance to his current appearance. Nonetheless, the system confirmed his identity. In the early hours of July 8, 2012, police apprehended him as he slept, bringing a swift conclusion to the 5-day investigation into the chilling dismemberment case at the Chenglong guest house. However, the detectives soon realized that their battle of wits with Xiangfu was only just beginning in the interrogation room of Shantou City Police. Under pressure, Xiangfu confessed to the murder of Jiang Jingfen. Yet the motive he presented left everyone in the room in disbelief. He claimed that his actions were an act of twisted justice. He recounted a painful chapter from early 2004 when he and Chen Baojian relocated to Shantou. There, his seemingly perfect life crumbled as his beautiful wife embarked on an affair with a wealthy businessman, leaving him broken and alone. Betrayed and abandoned, Xiangfu fell into a deep despair, losing all desire to work. In his darkest moments, he met Ye Xiaomai, a young woman from Guizhou who became his girlfriend and a beacon of hope. Xiangfu described their relationship as a source of joy, with discussions of marriage on the horizon. However, Ye Xiaomai placed a daunting condition on her commitment. He had to buy a house first. This demand proved insurmountable for Xiangfu, a struggling laborer, and their relationship quickly deteriorated. Ultimately, Ye Xiaomai also chose to leave him. These two heartbreaks, both tied to financial instability, left deep scars on Xiangfu's psyche. To escape his grim reality, he turned to online chatting, only to find that the women he encountered there were equally materialistic. Xiangfu recounted that whenever he revealed his true identity as a low-wage laborer earning between 2,000 to 3,000 yuan per month, women would reject him without hesitation. Yet when he crafted a facade as a wealthy entrepreneur, they flocked to him, eager to engage. He shared with investigators that this virtual world, where he could create an ideal persona, fed his ego. However, in reality, he remained an overlooked laborer, scorned by the very society he yearned to impress. Over time, this stark contrast between his imagined self and his actual life warped his psyche, culminating in a profound hatred for women. Zhang Xiangfu remained a scorned and overlooked laborer, a stark contrast that warped his psyche over time. In a chilling confession, he revealed a deep-seated hatred for women that had festered within him. Fueled by a simmering resentment toward those he deemed materialistic and insincere, Zhang Xiangfu devised a sinister plan. He sought to teach them a harsh lesson in reality. With this intention, he forged an online friendship with the unsuspecting Jiang Jingfen. In an unexpected turn of events, Xiangfu confessed to Jiang Jingfen that he had fabricated a life as a private business owner in Shanghai, all while hiding his true identity. Intrigued, Jingfen responded with an unsettling eagerness. She proposed an in-person meeting on July 3, 2012. Xiangfu seized the opportunity, inviting her to Shanghai and leading her to a guest house in a quiet residential area. Once they entered room 306, Xiangfu's intentions darkened. He had planned to manipulate her emotionally and financially, aiming to exploit her, steal her possessions, and impart a bitter lesson about vanity. But when he put his plan into action, Jiang Jingfen's response was anything but submissive. In a panic, Xiangfu restrained her, resorting to a red cord he conveniently had on hand to strangle her. In his chilling justification, Xiangfu labeled Jingfen as unfaithful and excessively materialistic. However, investigators soon uncovered that she was not the only woman drawn to Shantu. A thorough investigation led to the discovery of a laptop in his rental room, revealing 8 different QQ accounts, most of which belonged to women, amassing approximately 3,000 contacts. The alarming chat logs raised red flags for the police. During his interrogation, Xiangfu maintained a calm and collected demeanor, leading officers to suspect this was not his first encounter with the law. When confronted about the headless body case, in Rongcheng District, Zhengyang, he flatly denied any involvement. Yet, a search of his room revealed a disturbing array of evidence alongside tools linked to the crime. Among the findings was another laptop containing photographs of a young woman captured in her daily life. These images, belonging to the laptop's owner, did not feature Jiang Jingfen. Additionally, 2 mobile phones were found. The investigation also uncovered 2 wristwatches belonging to women who were neither Jingfen nor the woman in the laptop photos, indicating the presence of 2 different individuals. Investigators discovered women's clothing in Xiangfu's wardrobe. Living alone, he was suspected of having accumulated these items from other women who had come to meet him after their online connections. However, he cleverly denied these allegations. Determined to unveil potential connections, investigators meticulously combed through Xiangfu's extensive QQ chat history. They identified at least 5 female accounts that had expressed intentions to visit Jiang or Shantu. These encounters with Xiangfu took a darker turn. 3 of the women had engaged in heated arguments with him, while 2 had vanished into silence. The police harbored suspicions about these 5 women, as some had reached out to the authorities, fearing they might have been victims of Xiangfu. Of those contacted, 3 declined to cooperate for personal reasons, while 2 bravely confessed they had been robbed. Their revelations took a harrowing twist, as both admitted they had suffered sexual assaults at the hands of Xiangfu. They shared their shameful silence during the initial incidents. Further investigations and interviews corroborated their accounts, confirming that Xiangfu had indeed committed these 2 offenses. On March 8, 2012, he deceived Miss Yang. Under the guise of a hotel investment partnership, luring her to a restaurant near Mahaya Road in Rongcheng District, Jiang City. During their encounter, he feigned the need to borrow her motorcycle to pick up a friend, only to steal her bike, valued at over 4,000 yuan. After selling it, he pocketed a mere 800 yuan. On June 19, 2012, Shang Fu ensnared Miss Qin from Guigang. On one fateful evening, he lured a woman to room 303 of a hostel on Shanhan Road in Jinping District, Shantou City. Once inside, he unleashed his violent intentions, threatening her with a knife and binding her with rope and tape. In a chilling sequence of events, he sexually assaulted her and then stole various items: a laptop, a digital camera, a mobile phone, a wristwatch, and over 200 yuan in cash. From these two cases, police noted a disturbing pattern in Zhang Xiangfu's crimes. Zhang Xiangfu would first lure or coerce female acquaintances he met online into a sexual relationship, only to rob them of their belongings, effectively silencing any potential resistance. He had taken their clothing and personal effects, which explained the numerous women's items found in his residence. At this juncture, investigators had also unearthed Zhang Xiangfu's involvement in various fraud cases. He was linked to a series of serious crimes, including sexual assault, robbery, and murder. Yet, investigators harbored doubts. These offenses did not fully account for his advanced and precise skills in dismemberment. Could it be possible that the headless body discovered near Yangdong Bridge was unrelated to him? In a bid for a breakthrough, the police resolved to revisit Jiang, collaborating closely with the local police force for a more thorough field investigation. During their inquiry, investigators discovered that, at the time the headless body was found near Yangdong Bridge, Zhang Xiangfu had been residing in Jiang. His residence was situated upstream of the Rongjiangbei River, a location of significant interest, and less than 3 miles from the crime scene at Yangdong Bridge. Despite this damning proximity, Zhang Xiangfu remained tight-lipped regarding the case, evading confession even under intense interrogation. Investigators turned to external leads, combing through his phone records, which uncovered a Guangdong-based number. This number, originating from Jingmen City, had frequently contacted him before June 12, 2012, with over 10 calls made in a single day. Then, abruptly, communication ceased on June 12th. This sudden silence raised suspicions, prompting the investigators to hone in on the number. Local telecom records revealed it belonged to Huang Lifeng, a 46-year-old resident of Beihai City. On June 13th, one day after all contact had stopped, Huang Lifeng's daughter reported her mother missing to the Jingmen police. She recounted that her mother had left home on the morning of June 12th, claiming she was meeting a friend in Jiang City regarding a job opportunity. Lifeng had reportedly traveled alone by motorcycle to Rongcheng District. That very morning, her mother expressed intentions to meet a friend in Jiang City regarding a job opportunity. Huang Lifeng was said to have taken the journey alone by motorcycle to Rongcheng District. By that evening, her phone was unreachable. After filing the missing person report, Lifeng's daughter embarked on an extensive search, reaching out to family, friends, and acquaintances. Yet, nearly a month passed without a trace of her mother. Despite her relentless efforts, there was still no sign of Huang Lifeng. Her daughter revealed that Lifeng had been divorced for many years and found joy in chatting and making friends online. Using the online alias Feng Bai Bai, the police were taken aback when they discovered that the friend Lifeng had met in Jiang was, in fact, Zhang Xiangfu. Zhang Xiangfu had portrayed himself online as a private business owner. In light of this, despite his unwavering denials, investigators observed his troubling behavior. He repeatedly drank water, a clear indication of his attempt to mask inner turmoil. Sensing his anxiety, the lead interrogator ramped up the pressure, confronting him with the evidence gleaned from Lifeng's call records. After more than an hour of mounting tension, Zhang Xiangfu finally confessed to the brutal murder of Lifeng, who had been missing for nearly a month. According to his testimony, Huang Lifeng was unemployed at the time they met online. Pretending to be a successful business owner, he had lured her in with romantic interest and promises of employment within his company. Trusting him completely, in a fateful journey to Jiang, Huang Lifeng traveled alone, unaware of the sinister path that lay before her. Upon their meeting, Zhang Xiangfu found her strikingly attractive. Despite her years, Lifeng had managed to maintain her appearance, stirring a fleeting hope within Xiangfu. He contemplated revealing his true circumstances to her, pondering if, as a fellow divorcee, she might be willing to share her life with him. However, when Lifeng uncovered the deception, her fury erupted like a volcano. A heated argument ensued, filled with anger and betrayal. To silence her and prevent a scene, Xiangfu resorted to a chilling act. He retrieved the red cord he always carried and strangled her to death. In a gruesome display of violence, he dismembered her body and disposed of the remains, sealing her fate and further plunging himself into darkness. At this stage, the killer had confessed to multiple dismemberment murders. Yet the question remained, was he involved in the headless body case discovered at Yongdong Bridge in December 2011? In a relentless pursuit of truth, the investigation team dispatched 3 detectives to Xiangfu's hometown in Guizhou, determined to unearth clues that could unravel this mystery. As they delved deeper into his life, they discovered that Xiangfu was one of 4 siblings from a family that had lived in the mountains for generations. His impoverished father worked tirelessly, dreaming of a brighter future for his children, a hope that would tragically be shattered by his son's heinous actions. While investigators could not find direct evidence linking Xiangfu to the headless body case, they gained valuable insights into his troubled upbringing. Armed with this knowledge, the interrogation team crafted a new strategy. Instead of confronting Xiangfu directly about the crimes, they chose to engage him in discussions about his life and family, adopting a subtler approach. This psychological tactic proved to be remarkably effective. During the next interrogation, Zhang Xiangfu recorded a heartfelt video message for his parents, expressing deep remorse. "I am sorry for disappointing you." He lamented his failure to meet their expectations and the sacrifices they had made. As his emotions poured out, Xiangfu's psychological barriers began to crumble. In a moment of vulnerability, he confessed to the chilling truth behind the headless body case. At Yongdong Bridge, he revealed that the victim was not just any woman, but his former girlfriend, Ye Xiaomai. Xiangfu explained that their relationship was marred by frequent arguments, primarily over money. On December 3, 2011, following one particularly heated dispute, Ye Xiaomai declared her intention to leave him for good. This announcement ignited a fury within Xiangfu, who had already endured emotional scars from past relationships. He became convinced that her decision stemmed from his lack of financial stability. In a fit of rage, he strangled Ye Xiaomai to death. To conceal his crime, he dismembered her body and discarded the remains from Yongdong Bridge into the depths of the Rongjiangbei River. Following his confession, police reached out to Ye Xiaomai's family, and DNA testing confirmed the grim truth. The headless body discovered was indeed hers. Throughout the interrogation, Xiangfu insisted that his motives were rooted in a twisted sense of justice. He frequently declared to investigators, "On the surface, it seems like I was just conning people for love and money, but that's not true. Deep down, I wanted to teach them a lesson, to show them that money isn't everything, and they shouldn't be blinded by materialism." On March 21, 2014, the Shantou Intermediate People's Court delivered its verdict. Zhang Xiangfu was found guilty of robbery, rape, murder, and desecration of a corpse. The court sentenced him to death, confiscating all his personal assets, a fitting consequence for his monstrous acts. Despite the gravity of his sentence, Xiangfu appealed. Yet, on October 18, 2015, the Guangdong Provincial High People's Court upheld the original ruling, forwarding the case to the Supreme People's Court for final approval. On March 26, 2017, Zhang Xiangfu was escorted to the execution ground, where he faced his end by firing squad. This harrowing case serves as a stark reminder of the extreme risks involved in meeting strangers from the internet, a peril that can lead to tragic and irreversible consequences. On March 21, 2014, the Shantou Intermediate People's Court delivered a first-instance verdict. Zhang Xiangfu was found guilty of robbery, rape, murder, and desecration of a corpse, receiving the ultimate sentence, death. All of his personal assets were confiscated following the verdict. In a desperate bid for freedom, Xiangfu appealed the ruling. However, on October 18, 2015, the Guangdong Provincial High People's Court upheld the original decision. The case was then forwarded to the Supreme People's Court for final approval. On March 26, 2017, the Shantou Intermediate People's Court identified Zhang Xiangfu once more. He was escorted to the execution ground, where he faced a firing squad. This tragic case serves as a stark reminder of the extreme risks involved in meeting strangers from the internet alone. Regardless of gender or the proximity of the meeting location, one can never predict whether an encounter will lead to unexpected joy or devolve into a horrifying nightmare. This case underscores the dangers and potential risks of forging friendships and relationships online. Zhang Xiangfu exploited his victims' naivety and material desires to carry out his heinous crimes. By concealing his true identity and masquerading as a wealthy businessman, he lured his victims, committing horrific acts. This emphasizes the critical need for caution when engaging with strangers online. Trust, once lost, is not easily regained. This case underscores the peril of meeting strangers from the internet in secluded or private settings, particularly when alone. This tragic tale serves as a stark reminder. One must not place undue importance on material wealth. Instead, it emphasizes the necessity of exercising caution and discernment in social interactions. This tragic tale serves as a stark reminder. One must not place undue importance on material wealth. Instead, it emphasizes the necessity of exercising caution and discernment in social interactions.